Testing, testing. Can you hear me?
Hello, yes.
Great. Thank you for joining. I appreciate it on your day off. And Robin, I'm going to bug you for one more second. Can you see my screen?
Yeah, sure. Yeah,
Great, thank you.
sure.
All right, so we've got another minute here. So cool. Are you in Boise or are you over in Singapore?
Um, Hi there. No, actually, I'm in San Jose.
Oh, you're in San Jose. Oh, great.
Yeah. I also work on CXL. Yeah, firmware security.
Oh, great. Yeah, we're having some strange weather. I'm in Pleasanton, so I'm not too far from you, but it's
Okay.
been cold, huh, for the summer?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, it is.
All right, so we're just at 5 o'clock local time here in Chicago. And so I'll give everyone just a moment. This is my first time presenting to the group. So I don't know if there's any format where we,
I'll kick things off. Got some housekeeping to handle, and then I
thank
will
you.
introduce you when the time comes up.
Thank you.
Hello, Andrea. Saying what's up to your hometown right now, looking out at Bellevue.
Close to my hometown. I don't claim to be from Bellevue.
Is that Washington? Bellevue, Washington?
Yeah, I'm in. Yeah,
It's beautiful up there.
it is gorgeous. I'm always surprised every time I come here how incredibly beautiful it is.
Has the mountain been out? Have you seen it?
On the flight in, yeah, was unbelievable.
It's not bad.
Right.
Like the e-bikes donated $10,000 and said, must be in their Jeep the way they're better than them. Oh wait, he said we're better than them.
Michael, I think that maybe you don't intend to be talking to all of us. Love to give Sung and Shruti a minute to join before we kick off, just so that they can join me in talking about a couple of housekeeping issues. Housekeeping, more like exciting announcements coming up, fun stuff coming up on the OCP calendar. All right, good to see everybody again. Thanks for being flexible with the reschedule this month. A couple of things to mention at the top here. Submissions have now closed for the OCP Summit, and was glad to see a lot of the folks who are active in this community submitting abstracts. So we will see what the final list of looks like, I think, in the next couple days in terms of the sustainability track, but I think it'll be another exciting and full sustainability track at the Global Summit. And I encourage everybody to register and attend. Those of you who have been there in the past know that it's very big, but also doesn't feel overwhelming, especially since we have our own room and our own track for sustainability. We get to maintain our community and reunite with folks that we've been working with virtually throughout the year. It's also a fantastic opportunity for us to provide updates and announcements related to the work that we're doing in the sustainability project within OCP. So you will hear many of those, which I think we have on tap, which I won't spoil right now. But those of you who have been tracking our work streams throughout the year know that we've got good milestones to tout. And then after our speaker today, we also want to talk about a new white paper, which we are embarking on as a community. A few folks have specifically elected to lead related to circularity. So there'll be a circularity white paper that we can announce at least the existence of at the OCP Global Summit. So we'll get into some detail on that at the end of our call. And I'm just checking my notes here. So any other announcements or questions before we get to this month's speaker?
Yeah, I just had a question. How did the APAC conference go? We were there, Sims, and from our perspective, it was a home run. But I'm just curious, any feedback on how that went?
You know, I wasn't present for the APAC conference. Anyone else, or you could give your own experience if you were there. Let us know what you thought and how it went.
Yeah, I wasn't. Some of my team was, but they just thought it was a really, really great event.
That's great. Yeah, it's not an event that I've been to in the past. Tend to go as sustainability project leader to the EMEA regional summit and to the global summit each year, but it'd be great to get more of a connection with those who are participating in the APAC summit and to get feedback on that. This call is specifically scheduled to better accommodate our friends and collaborators in APAC. So certainly any feedback on that, any ideas for it for next year would be most welcome.
Will do. I'll collate some information from the folks that attended and send it to you just for your own edification there.
Cool. Yeah, that'd be great. And with that, it is my pleasure to introduce Sean McGann, who you've heard from, the Chief Commercial Officer at Sims Lifecycle Services. He's going to talk to us today about the growing pressure in the data center industry to optimize operations, extend asset IT life cycles, both for cost and environmental sustainability reasons, and how Sims Lifecycle is applying circular economy principles and leveraging technologies like CXL and strategies such as recovering DIMMs and re-engineering pre-owned OCP servers to improve efficiency, cut costs, and reduce overall hardware demand and therefore carbon impact. So with that, I hand it over to you, Sean.
Great. Thank you for the kind introduction. And just to double check, can everyone see my screen?
We can.
Great. Just before I start, just my own editorial. One of the reasons we are really, really excited about OCP, we've been a member for 3-4 years now, but anyone involved in CXL, and I know there's a lot of folks that have been involved, should be very, very proud of themselves, because from a sustainability standpoint, for what we're going to talk about here in the next few minutes, it's been a home run. We've seen so many different ideas. And again, I consider myself a true believer in sustainability, not just from an environmental side, just from having a robust supply chain. And you see lots of different ideas and projects over the years, and some work, some don't. But in my estimation, and I'll share some data with the group here in a bit, CXL has just been a really, really huge success from a supply chain resilience standpoint, and certainly from a sustainability standpoint. And also, it comes down to dollars and cents. And based on some of the data we have, it's been a huge success from a financial standpoint for one client in particular. So just to give you an overview of who we are, Sims Lifecycle Services. We're owned by Sims Metal Management, a publicly traded Australian company. And what we try to do is we try to offer supply chain services to data centers on a global basis. We also work with clients, the enterprise side, but our focus over the last few years has definitely been with data centers. And I'll end the commercial here, but just the pitch, we're global. We've got locations all throughout the world: India, Singapore, United States, Brazil, Japan, a couple of sites in Europe. We're circular, which is what we're going to talk about here in a minute, and we're certainly focusing on the cloud. Again, I'm Sean McGann. I'm the Chief Commercial Officer, and again, it's really my pleasure to get a chance to speak with everyone today. So I hope everyone's sitting down because I've got some big news. Data center growth uh, is going to just keep growing exponentially. I'm kidding. It's no shock to anyone here on the phone that the amount of spending in the data center space is going to continue just to grow. There's articles, it seems like, on a daily basis on new builds. Meta just announced a data center the size of Manhattan. I mean, the numbers you hear are just staggering. The numbers here that I have here in terms of spending, there's lots of different numbers out there. Even if this number was off by 10%, the growth, the numbers are just huge, right? And as we all know on the phone, it's largely driven now by just massive storage demands, and certainly AI is driving this next level of spending and growth in the business. And so the question we get a lot, and I'm sure some of the folks here, when they talk to their non-technical friends or their friends outside the industry, people say, what is the cloud, right? I hear all this stuff about the cloud and spending. What's the spending on? Well, the spending certainly is on the things you see here, buildings and structures, on power systems, on cooling, on land, right? Just the things we would expect for any type of business, right? You need buildings, you need to power it, and you certainly need real estate as well. But a lot of the spending is on IT equipment. Again, no surprise to anyone here in the room, but the amount of stuff, and this is why, excuse me, companies like NVIDIA are growing like they are in the market cap, and growing as it is because there's a huge demand for the materials, IT materials inside a data center. And there's some big scarcity concerns that we'll talk about here in a bit. But the type of material, just like what you would expect, GPUs, CPUs, hard drives, both mechanical and solid state drives, and memory. And for the purpose of what we're going to chat about today, we're going to focus in on memory. And this is where we've seen the really, really huge success with the CXL protocol. According to Microsoft, data centers, again, no surprise to anyone here, data centers are incredibly expensive, with 50% of their server costs on DRAM alone. So it's an incredibly expensive endeavor, procuring the memory, the DIMM memory needed to work inside these data centers. I didn't realize it was that high, but I'll certainly take Microsoft's word on it. And so excuse me, here. So CXL, to kind of cut to the chase, it's been a huge success, right? It's been a huge success on so many different levels. Some we'll talk about, but just in our estimation, it's been a success in ways that we didn't even think about. And again, cutting to the chase here, we'll get to that here in a bit. So CXL, I mentioned success works for lots of different reasons, but what we're going to specifically focus in on this evening is memory pooling, right? The ability to pull memory to bring down the overall allocation or provisioning needed inside a data center. So I'm not going to get into all the other benefits of CXL, which there's quite a bit. We're going to focus solely on the ability to pull memory in order to cut down on the overall amount of memory needed in a data center. So as we all know, you're building a data center, you need to provision the amount of data the amount of memory that's needed inside that data center. And in the simplest example that you see right here, you have usage over time that goes up and down. And so, this is, the folks on the phone aren't going to be surprised at this, but folks outside this industry, when you chat with them about this, they find this very interesting. And basically, if your usage goes up and down, which we know it does, memory provisioning is very much like electricity. You have to provision for the highest case. So in this example, you ask 10 people outside the business and they say, well, we'd want to provision it at 12 on, using the green line as usage over time, and 12 being the average. Well, we know that that's not going to work because when usage spikes and usage goes above the memory provision, this is where we run into problems. This is when applications crash and get slow and other problems happen, which doesn't make for a great user experience, which is something we're certainly trying to avoid. So what happens? So in this simple example, what do you do if you provision here? what do you do? Well, this is where memory pooling comes in specifically to our industry. So what we're currently doing, again, this isn't theoretical. This is how we're building these memory pools with one specific customer. And again, oversimplification, but I think you'll get the point. So a retired CPU server comes in. We will pool the memory. We will test and reprogram the memory. And that client in particular will use that memory to build these memory pools to work with new CPU and new GPU builds. So the whole idea of pooling data to cut down on the amount of provisioning, the memory pool being a shared resource, it's a great idea. But using used memory that's already, in the cases of the United States, already in the United States, it's already in your supply chain, to be able to reutilize that, I think is a great idea. And so in terms of testing, the most frequent question we get is, what do you do in terms of testing? Well, we'll do a visual and physical inspection. We'll do electronic and SPT validation, continue to test the memory. We'll do stress and load testing. We'll go ahead and relabel the memory to make it clear that it's the used item. And again, we'll go ahead and package that memory for reuse. And what we'll do as well is we will do one of two things in terms of reprogramming the DIMM. We'll add an R suffix to the name of the memory, just to make it clear that it's a repurposed item. And in some cases, we've changed the memory, a 32 gig DIMM, to only utilize 16. That way to save electricity. That hasn't been as successful. So we're not doing that as much, but most of the reprogramming has been just to rename that particular DIMM. So all in all, by doing this, now we have a quality, updated DIMM. And again, with that R designation, it's a new MPN for that particular DIMM. So these are some high level numbers just to show the success. So let's say in this example, and these numbers have changed. They change on a daily basis because this customer in particular is repurposing or redeploying a lot of DIMMs. But just assume that a 16 gigabyte DIMM is $40 from a retail sort of wholesale price. A 32 gig DIMM is $75. So in this example, this is a real example where we've repurposed 1.1 million DIMMs. The cost to the client would be about $65 million, right? Our cost to reprogram and reprocess that DIMM roughly is $10. So you do the math, it's a huge savings. So again, in order to cut down to create these memory pools, we, in this example, have saved the customer, $54 million. Again, these numbers are abstract, and again, we don't want to share any proprietary information, but I think you get the point. It's a huge money saving for the client. The amount of memory that we will repurpose in this coming calendar year will be about 3 times that number. All right, so they're looking to repurpose. This particular client will likely do over 3 million of these DIMMs in the next, say, 12 months. And again, it's available, right? One of the things we saw with COVID, and we're seeing some of that now with some of the threats of tariffs and tariffs changing on a daily basis, is that the supply chain can be fragile sometimes, right? There's friction now in the supply chain. Before it was COVID, now we see it with tariffs. And so another benefit of this program, it's not just the financial benefit, it's just that the material exists. And in the case of this particular program, the DIMMs used in the memory pooling are in the US, right? They're already domestic, so they won't be subject to any tariffs because they've already been nationalized. And so from a resiliency standpoint, the whole idea of memory pooling and using used DIMMs to create that pool it's fantastic. It's such a great idea from a resiliency standpoint. Now, this is what gets me really excited. Again, being a true believer in what we do. But there's lots of different estimates out there on, the carbon cost of manufacturing a DIM. This client in particular uses the rough average of 12 kilograms of carbon for every manufactured DIM. And so just from this test run that we've done, the 1.1 billion DIMs, by utilizing used DIMs, DIMs that are already out there, already manufactured, we estimate that the client has saved about 13 million kilograms of carbon. It's a huge win. It's a huge win from just drawing on your own supply. And so, again, with the next phase of the project that I mentioned, we're going to triple these numbers. Again, we're saving money, we're adding resiliency to the supply chain, and we're certainly saving carbon. So it's a triple win. The most common question we get is quality, right? This is our big concern, and this is why we've worked really, really closely with the client, and this is why we've tried to automate a lot of our processes, because robots are consistent. What's the fail rate? And for what we've seen from the first 1.1 million DIMs, the fail rate percentage of these repurposed DIMs are lower than brand new product. And at first, we didn't really understand how that could be. We're very happy with results, but we weren't sure why that could be. But it makes sense. These DIMs have already been burned in. They work, right? They work in the field. And they've had the burn-in testing done. We certainly do it again, before we redeploy the DIMs. And so from a quality standpoint, we're seeing fail rates lower than what the customer has shared with us for brand new DIMs. And so, again, not to be cliche, but there's another win, right? The quality is there, the cost savings are there, the resilience is there in terms of supply chain. And again, the sustainability win is there as well. So we think this has been, as I started with, everyone that's involved in this project, CXL, should be very, very proud of themselves, because, not in my career, I've been doing this for a while. Very seldom do you see things sort of touch all those buckets to where, just about everyone's pretty happy about this. And the client is extremely happy, to where you're seeing these cost reductions, you're seeing greater sustainability, and you're seeing increased availability, because again, you're sourcing from your own supply chain essentially. So we think that anyone wanting to study, and again, we can certainly give more details. We certainly have to get the permission of the particular client. But if you look at something that's been successful, it's been a group effort. Lots of folks have been involved. Lots of effort has been put in. But a group effort on something actually working, improving the environment, improving the bottom line, and improving the resiliency of the supply chain, I think this is it. So our call to action, right, and this is important for us, is we only see so far one of the big hyperscalers really doing this at scale, really doing this on a large scale. And we certainly hope that working within the OCP community, even if it's not through us doing the work, we definitely want to continue to evangelize this project, because it's like I said, it's a home run. And again, I don't know the technical differences between the different hyperscalers. I'm not as technical as that. But if they can take a lesson, any of the other hyperscalers can take a lesson from this one, try it. It's a great success, and we certainly will share any data, any technical capabilities, any of the work we've done with robotics with anyone that's willing to listen, because we think it's such a good project and it's so important to what we collectively as a community are trying to do. So that's it. So that's my quick speech. I hope it didn't go on for too long, but I'm happy to answer any questions.
Yeah, I had a question.
Sure.
Thanks for the presentation. The numbers look compelling. And my question was, you had made an estimate of a $65 million, and there you had 500,016 gigabytes. There is like 800 terabytes of memory. Is that correct, or am I misreading that?
No, those are the ones that have been redeployed. So those are actual numbers of the number of DIMMs that have been redeployed.
Right, but so that 65 million, I mean, what is the typical data center need of memory was my question. Is there some, because that number seems spread over many years and many data centers, that's your point, or?
Oh yeah, absolutely. So this is why it's being, yes, sir. So these are coming from multiple data centers of one client and being redeployed.
Through
This is,
multiple years.
well, yeah, so we've been collecting them. So that project started in 2024. So that first project was probably a year and a half of the material coming in, being redeployed and sent back to the customer. In some cases, it hasn't been redeployed. It's still on a shelf. But no, actually, I take that back. Most of that material has been redeployed back to the customer already.
Okay, so maybe the question I was looking for is, well, I'm trying to understand the context of what you're saying. Per data center, do you know how much memory is needed, or per server, or per compute? Because that is a data centric perspective, right?
Yes.
What you showed was a perspective from your deployment side, but from a data center, you showed all the growth. So how much memory is required, not storage, memory, right?
Right.
And that, do you, I mean, do we need 800 terabytes in memory, you think?
The customer, listen, I only know what the customer asked for and is what's paying for. So they've sent us the initial one, the 1.1 million DIMMs that I mentioned. We've sent those 1.1 million back to them. And according to this client, they need more. They need 3 times as much more. So again, I'm taking their word that that's exactly what they need, because they're certainly investing a lot of money into this program and they want to continue it. And again, and this is on a global basis. So they're redeploying this globally.
Uh-huh, uh-huh, uh-huh. But you don't have the numbers in terms of how much per data center or something like that, right? My estimate is there are 10,000 data centers by end of 2024. Do you know how much total memory is used in those data centers?
I don't know. I could certainly find out, but I mean, I think it probably depends on, and maybe I'll throw that question out to the group. I'm sure it depends on the data center.
Yeah, I was looking for more ballpark number or total number or something like that.
I could find out. I mean, I just got a note from a fellow that said one single 400 megawatt data center could use 1.5 to 2 million DIMMs. So again, depending on the capacity of each of those DIMMs, that number could be huge.
Yeah, say that number again, sorry.
So someone sent me a note saying that a single 400 megawatt data center
Mm-hmm.
can use 1.5 to 2 million DIMMs. And just to be conservative, assume each of those DIMMs is 16 gigabytes. You can do the math from there.
Okay, thank you.
But you'll see it if you look at a lot of the press that's come out in the last couple weeks. The price of memory is skyrocketing, especially for DDR, which is one version past the newest, and it's just because of the insatiable demand for memory. And so we've seen DDR4 prices double, in some cases nearly triple, just because there's such a demand for this memory.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Other questions?
Yes. Hi, Lisa from Meta. I have one question. So regarding the scope 3 emission of the DIMMs that you actually recondition, for the client who reuses, what would be the new carbon footprint? I guess not fully zero, even though it's coming from their pool, because there is some transportation and assembly on your side. Do you have an estimate on
Yeah.
that?
I don't, but that's actually a really good question to find out, because there's the electricity used in the reprogramming. There's the logistics in and out. I could certainly find that out, but that's actually a really, really good question, because it's not 100% savings. There is a cost. But I can find out,
Cool.
Lisa, and certainly send that to you.
Yeah, perfect. Feel free to contact me. Thank you.
The nice thing though, I mean, just to speak, the nice thing about memories, it's pretty dense too, right? So a palette of memory, there's a lot of individuals, units on it. So I would think that the transportation isn't huge, but it certainly is something to be taken into consideration. I think likely the larger cost would be the actual process, the electricity needed to process the material. But yeah, I'll definitely find out to get that net.
Andrea also asks in the chat, how does the lifespan compare between the redeployed DIM? So does the redeployed DIM last as long as a new from factory?
Again, the fill rate's been great. It's been excellent, and it hasn't been long enough to see what that is. I would imagine that a lot of this material probably be technically obsolete before it actually doesn't work anymore. It's a solid state device. So again, this program has just started, but we don't expect, we don't have that data yet because the stuff that's been redeployed has only been out in the field for at most maybe a year and a half. But we like I said, I fully expect that these will run until they're not needed anymore because we've seen that there's still a demand for some of the old DDR3. I mean, this is really, really old material that we see that's out in the field that's had a second life. And like I said, in general, it seems like folks want to replace the equipment before it actually doesn't work anymore.
Hey, Sean, actually, on those lines, on the lines of the last question itself. So I understand you're saying that right now what you've deployed has been in the field for 1.5 years. Was there any kind of maybe accelerated testing or something done in order to estimate what the impact will be if this remained in the field for, say, another 6 years or so?
There was, and I don't have that. I'm actually at the facility doing it. I'll be there tomorrow. I just flew in. So I can get that data because there was that study and I just don't have that at the tip of my finger. So I apologize for that, but I'll send that out to the group.
That will be interesting. Yeah. Thank you.
Sure. All right. So I've got a few follow-up questions.
Sean.
Again, great questions. I appreciate it. And then I apologize for not having all the data with me, but I can certainly easily find that tomorrow when I'm in the facility.
I think we have another hand raised.
Yeah.
Go ahead,
Hi, Sean.
Sakul.
Yeah, thank you. Hi, Sean. So yes, I'd want to ask that. So how do you modify it for these DIMMs which are being reused for CXL? So these were being used in the data center. They were operational, say the DDR3, DDR4s. Do you add um, um, chem form factor or like AICs, iron cards for that to make it reusable for CXL?
No, they're just all we do is we will go ahead and test it. We put it in a memory tester. They'll reprogram it to have the new manufacturer part number. A new profile is programmed into the chip. And then we relabel it and then package it and send it back.
So you don't add any controller, anything, no CXL. So how will this speak CXL then? Because you bring in a perspective of CXL too, right? So what's the modification done to make it talk CXL?
I'll send you the spec on that. We have it. I just don't have it offhand. So
Okay, sure. Thank you.
Any other questions for Sean? Comments? Sean, thanks again for the time and the presentation, sharing your research, and look forward to continuing to stay engaged with your work. And yeah, if you have follow-ups on any of those questions, we can discuss those in the next meeting. That would be great.
yeah, and just looking through my notes, there may be a few secret sauce. I don't want to overpromise. So I will get all the data I can, but I just need to check a few things with the client just to make sure that they're comfortable with sharing some of this data. I can't see what they wouldn't be, but I just want to make that caveat that I just need to clear, especially the programming information we just chatted about. So I want to clear that with the client, but I'm sure it should be fine.
Cool. Yeah, sounds good. All right, cool. Well, one last announcement, kind of leading from our overall general topic here, which is that we are, as I mentioned at the top of the call, embarking on the creation of a new white paper on circularity. Those of you who have been with us for a while in this community may remember deliverables from last year and the year before, specifically related to data sanitization and circularity for IT to keep as many data storage devices from being destroyed and trying to find a route to reuse. We had a design for circularity guide, which kind of goes lever by lever over what can be done to improve the circularity for OT equipment, and then also a data sanitization white paper, which is fantastic, led by J.M. Hands and others. So now we are embarking on a new project to build on that work. And we're focusing on, I say we in the general sense, this is not me, this is started by Ian Lavelle and Reconext, and we are looking for more to join. And the white paper is going to be on focusing on the vertical technical ecosystem rather than horizontal. So to enable a true circular economy methodology, ensuring that full complete server switches and other data center components refurbished, reused into new environments and installations, rather than torn down or singularly sold. So essentially focusing on, are there other verticals, are there other segments that could be reusing the IT if we're not finding enough uptake in the data center segment itself? This technology ecosystem, reading here from Ian's a kind of mini abstract, combined with full interlinked suite of engineering equipment, can allow complete data analytical capabilities to be utilized by the data center original client for effective decision making. The ability to cascade the equipment to a full secondary life installation provides a more sustainable approach embedded with immersion cooling and even more cost-effective, less energy usage overall. So that description is a bit of a mouthful. As you can see, there's a lot there substantively. So if any of that caught your ear, definitely let us know. We're looking for a co-lead for this work. Anything to add to that, Shruti, in terms of framing the subject, or any questions or ideas from anyone else on the call?
I think framing the subject wise, thank you so much. I guess, Alex, you did a great job. I was just going to point out, since, it is quite a bit of description, we also put this description of the white paper focus in the meeting body, and we will also include it in the post-meeting notes that will be sent out. So you can actually, read through it and sort of think about it at your own time. And if there are, more than, Reconext is one who is deeply involved in this and wants to drive this forward, wants to spread this message of the vertical circular tech ecosystem through the industry. But we are looking for, even if there are more than one co-leads, we'll be, happy to include everybody. So not necessarily just one co-lead. So if it tingles your interest as a co-lead, or if you just want to be involved in basically building or having feedback on this work, please do reach out and we will get that going.
I can't find the
Any-
raise hand, but
Yeah, go ahead.
I don't have bandwidth to participate in this, but I also would just be interested to see, like, if this is dealing with all data center equipment, are there specific pieces of equipment or components that don't have practical uses outside of the data center, and being able to address that in this paper? Because, I think as it's addressing is that data center operators want to be inputs to the circular economy, but not necessarily accepting those, and for many times rightful reasons, but there is likely to be a lot left over. And so that's just my 2 cents is
It's a good observation. I think that there's, well, this is a guess, but I kind of feel like there's probably more applications in other segments for IT than there would be for a lot of the OT, like a 3-phase UPS or a medium voltage switchgear. Maybe you can find that in CNI somewhere. it's a good thing to raise and something interesting to sort of pursue in the publication of the white paper. And certainly, Andrea, even if you don't have bandwidth to participate in creating the white paper, we can keep you in the loop as a consultant. That would be great.
Critic, maybe. No, just kidding. But yeah, definitely. Thank you.
All right, cool.
Yeah, and I think the description of the white paper sort of talks about deploying these maybe refurbished or second life into new environments. So maybe that would be, broad enough to consider outside of data center environments.
Yeah, it makes sense. Okay, any other notes from anyone either on this white paper or on any other OCP related topic?
I do actually on this white paper, Lisa from Meta.
Hi,
We
Lisa.
have a new internal program actually about circularity, and my coworker who is leading this effort would, I think, be interested in joining. So would you be interested in having one hyperscaler in this white paper, or are you more interested about circularity outside of data centers?
No, yes, of course, Lisa. We would welcome participation from Meta in this. I think it'd be great to have the perspective of an end user and not just vendors here. So that would be terrific. You can help.
Okay, so you can count me in, and I will loop another coworker in that.
Okay, fantastic. Thanks so
Awesome.
much.
Thank you, Lisa. I see Zach has replied with interest in joining this too. Not quite able to see Zach's full name or catch his.
Zach, do you want to identify yourself?
Hey guys, Zachary Matthews with Iron Mountain.
Okay, I think then I can locate you. Yes, okay, from Iron Mountain. Then we'll loop you in.
Thank you.
I would also like to participate, certainly, as well as from a security perspective, since even especially in the new upcoming DDRs, like we are discussing JEDEC, so in the JEDEC forums, security perspective. So if you want to reuse those DIMMs, we would have to make sure that the device which would have been provisioned with keys or certain sensitive parameters, security sensitive parameters for one particular hyperscaler or end customer, that they need to be sanitized entirely, even from the security perspective when we want to repurpose. So I believe maybe that topic also we could add and work on.
Yeah, good suggestion.
Absolutely. Yes.
And I
Yep.
just want to emphasize to appreciate the volunteers from Meta and Iron Mountain that this is early on. So you have opportunity now also to shape what form this white paper takes. And then, of course, great sort of built-in audience with an OCP white paper. So always a good opportunity to make an impact on the industry. So appreciate you volunteering. Any other
And
thoughts? Yeah, go ahead, Shruti.
I was just going to comment on Sakul's message that, I think maybe as the discussions start for the white paper, maybe you can bring that up. So we'll loop you in also. So you can bring that up. It should be.
So do we send you my email ID or something? Do I share my email ID? How do you contact?
Oh, as long as you are subscribed to OCP Sustainability, I will be able to locate you.
Okay. Yeah, to subscribe. I received the email for this call. Yeah. Hence join the call.
If by chance you think you're not subscribed, then you do want to leave your email address.
Oh, sure. Okay. Yeah, I did receive the notification for this call, so I'd subscribed. Yeah, thank you.
Okay.
Yeah, this is also not correct.
Great. Well, thanks everybody for the discussion. Thank you again, Sean, for the presentation, and look forward to both embarking on this circularity white paper and to the upcoming OCP Summit in October. Questions about any of the above, please feel free to reach out to me or Sung or Shruti. And have a good month.
Yeah, but so Alex, there is a lot of work, I believe.
Hesham, I'm not being able to understand. Say again.
There is lots of work about circular economy and circularity in IEEE. You might take advantage of.
Yes, this is a very good point. So there's tons of work always being published on the broad topic of circularity, which is an incredibly broad topic, and in the intersection of circularity and the data center industry. So a first step for us for sure is to survey recent publications and make sure that we're breaking new ground with whatever it is that we are going to be researching and writing. So yeah, good note to bring up and something that's very much top of mind as we embark.
Exactly.
We want to not be repetitive and offer something new.
Exactly.
All right. Thank you, Hesham. Thanks, everybody else. Have a good week.
Thank you so much, folks.
Thank you. You too.
Bye.
Okay, so